Welcome to Inside the Chamber. I'm Nikki Anderson, the President and CEO of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce. Today our show will focus on social media. There's an art when it comes to using social media, and our panelists today are savvy experts who have successfully leveraged social media to move their business and their brand forward.
Inside the Chamber is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Naperville Bank and Trust.
I'd like to welcome my guests for today, Dr. Kathy Suber of Advanced Health of Naperville. Welcome. Mike Isaac of Third Party Pet, and Leah Malinowski of Klein Hall CPAs. Welcome. Great to have you all here. So we're going to talk about social media, which is probably the leading source for getting across your message about your brand, whether it's business or personal. And one of the reasons that I invited you guys here today is because you do an exceptional job. And I think you do it in a way that is more organic than very specific. So I thought it would be fun to just talk about today what inspired you to start getting your message across on social media. Was it intuitive, or did you just know that it was the up-and-coming trend? So let's start with you, Leah. Talk to me a little bit about the power of social media.
So I think one of the biggest things with social media is it's really comes to be a real-time storytelling conversation that it's a way you can be authentic with your customer base, and it's a really good way for your customers to get to know, like, and trust you.
Awesome. Well, I know, Kathy, you've not only branded your business, but you've branded yourself, which I think is brilliant. I don't go on Facebook as much as I used to, but when I do, I always see a post and your likes are like 200 and 300 likes. I know that probably wasn't your intention. I mean, I know that you wanted to form relationships, which you I think intuitively knew you could do through social media. But talk to me a little bit about, was it a strategy, or it just happened and then you realized, wow, there's something here? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. I went on Facebook probably 7 or 8 years ago when I first learned of it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a great way to keep in touch with people. I really liked being able to see friends from high school or from chiropractic school and see pictures of their babies, and just thought that was pretty neat. I tend to be a pretty open person in general, if you know me well. So I think that just translates to what I share on social media. I'm okay to share successes, I'm okay to share failures, I am okay to share when things are going well, when things are not going well. And so I think when you're real and authentic, it does make people pay attention and go, oh, I can trust this person. So it truly was never intentional to try to build big likes, but it has translated not only into my practice, but into Naperville Moms Network as an amazing marketing tool for myself.
Right, and it's kind of what you said, building that trust and building those relationships. So Mike, what about you? What are your thoughts about social media and the power of it, and how did you start with social media?
Sure. So right now there are about 3 billion users online, and about 2 billion users use social media. So we really, we're users as well, even though that we are producers, if you will. Most folks use social media as a hangout place. So we find ourselves sitting back and relaxing, almost like a coffee shop, a virtual coffee shop for ourselves. So you have to create that environment that allows comfortable conversation, while plugging some of your branding as well. It's really kind of a mixture. So you have to give content that allows people to be attracted to a non-sales environment while you are plugging your brand and, quite frankly, attracting folks that are comfortable.
Well, and I noticed the two of you, you're in a little bit different situation because you market for Klein Hall. Yeah. But you two do such a nice job of really blending that personal and that professional, because I have to tell you, I do see some people that try and do personal and professional, and the personal is just a little bit too much or off color, so it's not handled well. But I think you guys both do an excellent job of melding that. Do you think that people do have to be careful with regards to if they're going to blend a personal brand as well as and make it part of their business?
Sure.
I don't even think it has to be someone that has a business. I mean, there's definitely people on social media where you notice most of their posts are very negative or kind of elusive. I'm having a horrible day, I can't tell you why, but type of thing. And so I think you really have to think, what do I want my grandmother to read? What do I want, everyone out there that is connected to me to read? Some political things I think go a little bit too far as well. I think you just have to be careful and be mindful of who is maybe looking at what you're doing, and they might have different views on many things than you do. So I think you have to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
To parlay off of that as well, I think you have to understand that everyone can see what you're posting out, and
and it never goes away.
It doesn't. And your audience will range from folks that may be within your friend circle to folks that may not know you as well. And I think you have to be very careful to understand that whatever I'm posting, I have to make sure that A, I don't offend anyone, and B, that it is neutral as possible. And like Kathy and I do, we incorporate some of our family life as well, because that's who we are as people. And I think it's okay for people to get to know us as people. You just really have to kind of keep it neutral.
Awesome.
And I think one of the things too is that you have to remember that social media is a spectator sport. I mean, that's what you were saying before, is that people go and it's a spectator sport. They sit, they see how you respond to customer comments. They see how you respond to, the different posts and the reviews and stuff that people post on your pages, whether it's positive or negative. So you just have to make sure that that's a cohesive statement with the brand strategy that you're going with.
Awesome. So I'd love to know, what's the biggest surprise that you guys have encountered since, with social media?
I'll kind of start with that if you don't mind. It's kind of changed the way we do customer service a little bit. We've in the past, let's say 20 years ago, our customer service was somebody would give us a telephone call, they'd write us a letter. People are very comfortable to talk about their concerns. They're also able to share good things as well on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform they use. It's also enabled them to share it pretty freely. And us as the business, we have to respond to that in a very quick manner. So we had to become very nimble to it also. So that means that sometimes we have to respond at 9 p.m. at night. Sometimes we have to respond on the weekends. And also, with the nimble side of it, we had to be very quick with our response, in that we couldn't spend time thinking about it and mulling over it and deciding, hey, what is the best strategy to respond to this? We had to have, quite frankly, the responses ready and understand that. And like Leah said, other people are seeing this response and they're reacting to our business the way we respond to other people.
Yeah, that's a great point. What other surprises have you found?
I think we have a mom forum on Naperville Moms Network, and it's a group that's set up. And many moms ask about chiropractors, and I've been so thrilled with so many of my patients going on as soon as that's posted at saying, we love Dr. Kathy, this is so, please contact her. And it's an open forum. I don't take down other chiropractors' recommendations at all. But it's been very heartwarming to see that what you put out there and the service that you do offer in one part of your business can actually affect a different part of your business.
And you just think about that with like the newspaper. We talk about the speed at which we are able to get a message out today versus 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. You couldn't get that kind of feedback from your clients unless you took out an ad and you said, hey, can I quote you in this? So it's much different. What about you, Leah? What surprise have you found?
So I would say that really about just the different posts that we post on Facebook for Klein Hall, that some posts that I think are going to like really knock it out of the park and be like amazing, like super like content relevant.
You're like, this was awesome.
Yeah, it's like,
this.
Man,
It's got 2 likes. It's
yeah,
Leah.
I'm like, oh man, like I thought I had it here, but and then sometimes it'll be just like a Friday inspirational quote, and it really hits home and resonates with the user base. And then all of a sudden it's like liked and shared everywhere. I'm like, oh, okay, you never know.
Yeah, again, and when you said the sharing piece of it, I think that's what's amazing, is that you can put up a post and within 10 minutes, 20,000 people can see it. So the power of that. What should people not use social media for? I think most of us probably know, but maybe something specific that you've seen that you said, ooh,
well, I think
bad
what
move.
Kathy was saying before is especially people with businesses, we're talking about, social media for business. Politically, I saw so much of it, especially with the 2016 election, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
So I would say that negative posts, people should really, try to spin things in a positive light and be a little bit more optimistic instead of pessimistic on there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you have to take into consideration your demographic. And you have to understand that your demographic spans across the whole spectrum. And just because you may feel a certain way, your customer may not agree with you. And I think it's really important to keep it as neutral as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think?
I think just some of the negative posts that even truly point to a specific person. I've just been surprised at some of the things that people are willing to say where you think, man, that's just a one-sided part of it, and the other person sometimes doesn't have a chance to respond to it.
Right.
So I think, to be fair, if you're going to put that information out there, that it should be something that someone can see and give their side of it as well.
Absolutely.
So I would imagine for Klein Hall, you guys probably use many different social media avenues.
Yep.
What about you guys? Do you have a favorite, or do you do like the Instagram, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, and Facebook, or what is your strategy?
I do all of those.
Okay.
Facebook trumps all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really, for my demographic, I think the age range that I connect with the most, that just tends to be their go-to. My kids would be Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm on Instagram, and I'm kind of like, all right, I got to post there, I got to post there, I got to
Yeah.
post there. Twitter, I've never been able to figure out.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know. It just crickets nonstop, and it auto posts, and I don't do a lot with that. And
Okay.
LinkedIn, I don't do all that much with, but
Okay.
but Facebook for me.
For our company, we also do Facebook and social media for other companies as well.
Okay.
And I think, to Kathy's point, that's comfortable for Kathy, but I think from a business perspective, you've got to plug into all these other avenues also. Even though we may not have a lot of familiarity with it, our customer may. So I think it's important to be on Twitter, to be on Facebook, to be on LinkedIn, because you are, quite frankly, attracting a whole bunch of demographics, not just your or mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I'd love to ask you, Leah, because I know that for Kathy, I would imagine that most of your posts, a lot of it's just organic. Mike, I would think that you guys probably have strategy behind what you're doing, not so much personally, but professionally. It just happens to tie in well.
Correct.
For Klein Hall, what is the importance of a strategy from a business perspective? I mean, do you sit down and do you look at your week, your month, your year, or is it organic as well?
So we normally spend about an hour a week just really getting relevant content for the posts for the next week, but then really checking Facebook like 1 or 2 times a day, or all social media actually, to get user-generated content. So when we're obviously big chamber members,
Yeah.
and we go to a lot of events, making sure that we're following your pages and tagging posts and posting to the different volunteer events and things that we go to as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk a little bit about tagging and the value of that. We'll be right back.
Naperville Bank and Trust has the expertise, knowledge, and experience to help you reach your business goals.
We would prefer to work with somebody like Naperville Bank and Trust. They're engaged in the community, they're able to help meet our financial needs, they understand us as a business.
They provide all the tools that you would ask that we as a growing business need of a bank. Most importantly, to me, it's a great personal relationship we have with Tom and John and our bankers.
It was the best thing we could have done in banking. Banking can be very cold. What the bank brings to us is that warm feeling when you come into the bank and people say, "Hi, Greg."
It's about being part of the community again, about being a name again, about having credit for who your business is instead of just being a number.
Naperville Bank and Trust. Bring it home.
Shop downtown and experience the vibrant, bustling center of Naperville. Over 100 shops, from longtime favorites to wonderful new additions. And after shopping, grab a bite to eat. With over 40 restaurants and places to enjoy a sweet treat too, there's something delicious for everyone. Day or night, come explore everything downtown Naperville has to offer.
Welcome back. We're having a great conversation about social media. I find the whole social media, it's not a trend. I think it's here for the duration, but I do find it fascinating in how people use it successfully and how people use it in a way that I think could be detrimental. I talk to my kids sometimes about, look, if you're looking for a job or you're looking to grow in the position that you have, you need to be really smart about how you handle social media. I believe that you can't get rid of information, that it's always out there. But what suggestion might you give to not only young adults, but even adults that, hey, I'm looking for that executive promotion? What advice would you give them if they're perhaps not being mindful with social media?
Well, I would say that you should definitely always check your privacy settings. I mean, there are privacy settings there for a reason, and if you're posting things that like you were saying before, that if it's not necessarily a neutral, if it's going to be two one-sided views, then I would make sure that your privacy setting is set on secure. So, but people are always able to see your profile picture and your cover picture. So those, you just, you can have it be a fun picture, but still relevant and appropriate.
Awesome. You mentioned something about that too, that sometimes there are people that just post things that don't even think about it. Yeah. And I mean, you and Adam have this great business, and you have your family. I'm sure you are both very mindful, especially as the boys get older, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very mindful about not only when they're able to be involved in social media, but as a business and from a personal perspective. What do you say to people that perhaps are not thinking when they're posting?
Sure. I think in life we always look for a place to vent. Right. And we look for what we call like a safe place.
Right.
Unfortunately, social media really isn't that place. No. And I think some people look for it to be that, and it's because it breeds attraction. So if somebody makes a comment like Dr. Kathy said earlier, that would be vague of, hey, my day's so bad, or whatever the case may be, it will breed attraction to it where people are showing attention to it. And I think you have to be very careful that the post that you are making really isn't a safe place. I mean, and to Leah's point, even if you have your privacy settings set on, some people may be connected to you. That may be connected to the person that is potentially giving you a raise, or somebody that may be voting for you, or whatever the case may be. I think you just always have to be very careful that whatever you post, anyone can see.
Right, and it will always be there. That's what I always tell my kids. It's there forever. Just Google it and it'll come up, right?
Yeah. I try to teach my kids that just because it's on social media does not give you permission to say anything that you would not say to someone in person. Sometimes with younger kids, you see these battles going on, even with adults.
Right.
And that I think it gives kind of a thin veil of, I'm not really saying this. I'm saying it online. I'm not saying it to the person. And so I think it's important to really think, would I say this to this person right here? And as far as the profile pictures go, I've seen people that have reached out to me asking for me to do business with them, and their profile picture is just a crazy picture, something that isn't professional for one way, for one reason or another. So you really do have to be thoughtful that this is something that is going to be looked at and a part of people's decision, especially in business as well.
Well, and Mike, you mentioned too that it's out in the public so anybody can view. So I, as a boss looking to hire somebody, it's out there for managers and coworkers and everybody to see. So I think people sometimes don't think about that.
I think people, within businesses, we use social media to brand our business. But in essence, individually, they're branding themselves. And they're using their platforms to brand themselves, which quite frankly makes up their identity to somebody that may not know them. So to a potential employer, the only thing they may know is what is posted onto their Facebook. And they're using that to identify them, and that's their brand. And just like what you do for the chamber, and just like what we do for our businesses, we're using that to make our business brand. They're using that to make their individual brand as well.
Right.
On the flip side of that, and on a positive side, I have walked into an event and gone up and hugged someone, and we have looked at each other and go, have we actually ever met in person? Or did we just kind of strike up conversation somehow on Facebook? And it is amazing the connections it can make in a positive way. If you do stay positive, stay professional, stay neutral in certain places. And in my opinion, the benefits far outweigh the cons of it if done right.
Right.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'll ask you about business from a strategy standpoint. I have heard that when you're posting for business, it's usually, informational or educational, and then you can do a bit of a sell, but then you have to make sure that you're giving them education. Is that still the norm, or is that's old way of thinking and it's a little different now?
Well, I think that you really have to make sure that you're posting relevant content. So, as an accounting firm, we try to post things that, if there's a new tax notice or something that we think that our client base would want to see, we would put something like that. But, we also try to make sure, too, that people see our fun side. We are accountants, but we have a super...
Accountants can be fun, too.
So we have an amazing team, and, posting about our laser tag event. We went and played laser tag, and it was, so much fun. Posting about that, like we bring our dogs into work. So, it's not uncommon to see a little dog running around, and it's nice to post about that too, so people can see the real side of you. And I think the
personality.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to your point, you do feel comfortable. That gives you the credibility. It's really the know, like, and trust. And if you can garner that over social media, you're already a step ahead. So when that person is looking to make a change to a new product or to a new service, and you're front of mind already because they already feel comfortable with you. And I always say too that's why people get they're always so caught up with like celebrities, because we feel like we know them. We feel like we've had conversations with them before. We feel like that they've been part of our lives. They've been like welcomed into our home because they're on our social media feed, and like we see so much about them.
Yeah, sad but
I think
true.
you're kind of like this.
So strategy, Kathy, do you have a strategy, or is it, it's really, I know. That's what's so fascinating. And you guys brought up an interesting point earlier, that there is this line between negative and positive, but you mentioned earlier, if I'm having a tough day or there's something specific that I'm struggling with, you're very mindful on how you craft the message so that it doesn't come across as like Debbie Downer, but that, hey, these things happen, because I think that's also the tough part about social media is everything's great, everybody's life is perfect, when we know that in reality it's not. And I do think that you do a good job of not crossing that line, but really engaging people in thoughtful discussion.
I do try to be thoughtful about the things that I post that are negative. I pay attention to that more and how I word it. And what I want it to come through as is, this is what's going on in my life. I know other people are struggling with things like this too, whether it's this specific issue or it's something completely different. Kind of like we're all in this together, and we all have struggles, and life isn't perfect. Life isn't just Christmas card perfection. Right. There's lots of days where you wake up and go, I just want to crawl back into bed. I think that's what resonates, is that people say, oh, good God, me too. Oh, she always looks so happy, or she's always out and about, and it seems like her life is perfect. No one's life is perfect. So to share those other sides and other days in a thoughtful way, without it just being all about me, that it's more of a, hey, who else is feeling this way?
It's an authentic conversation, which I think is what you brought up the other day, and I think that's what people want is authentic information and conversation. What about you, Mike?
No, I totally agree with you. I'm a new parent. Well, I don't know if I can say new anymore.
No,
we have 3-year-old twins, and I felt as the last 3 years, I've had the opportunity to post certain items or struggles that we're having as a parent. We kind of learn every day, and there are certain things that happen. We're starting to get into the why stage and a little bit of the sassy stage, and I'll make a post, and it's honestly a little comforting when Dr. Kathy will say, "Oh yeah, just wait till they're 13," or even some advice. So. I do have a little, from the business perspective, we do have a strategy. So there is a plan that we put together. We also incorporate some fun and exciting things like Leah said as well. From the personal side, you have to be very careful what you post, but I think it is okay to be real and to say, hey, you know what, I got no sleep last night. Our kids both have the flu, and hey, my kid does it as well. This is what we're trying at our house.
Right, that's wonderful. And again, it goes back to what you said, is building that trust in those relationships, which I think is really key in in social media. So when you think about the different strategies that might come into social media, for those that are really thinking about taking it a little bit more serious and getting involved with it, I don't want people to overthink it, which I'm sure you know only too well. So what advice might you give someone who's thinking about getting involved with social media or pushing their efforts up a little bit higher?
So I would say that you should really do a little research, see what the industry leaders in your industry are looking at and what their strategies are, and companies that are similar to yours as well. I think that that's a good place to start, but it's really about consistency. It's about finding your message and finding who you want to be as a brand and how you want to portray yourself. How do you portray your company through your marketing efforts overall, and really bringing that in to your social media sites. If Facebook works for you, then go after Facebook. Whatever's authentic. If Twitter doesn't seem authentic to you, then don't go after that. Really taking your message and building it back to your brand.
Awesome. What do you guys think?
I would absolutely agree. I think, with anything in life, you need to have a concrete plan. What I would highly recommend is not to dabble with it and then pull back. I think you have to be consistent, like Leah said a second ago. And until you have the plan, I wouldn't start. So I think I would step back for a second, have a strategic plan, just like we do with all of our businesses. Right. Then, once you're ready to do it, make sure you're consistent with this. Because what you're doing is creating that virtual coffee shop, and you want to make sure the coffee shop's open every day. And you want to have content, you want to have some exciting items, and if you do it and then go dormant, well, your patrons leave.
Yeah, no, that's great advice.
That is true. I think it's really important to be checking it pretty regularly. Not all day, because you can get sucked into it. But I've seen businesses that have had some negative reviews do an amazing job of saying, I am so sorry that was your experience. That is not what we strive to offer at our restaurant or please, my name is the manager's name, and please come in next time, stop with me, and I'd love to offer you a free appetizer. I mean, that goes a long way in showing that a business cares, that they're not defensive, that they're not trying to discredit the person, because what is out there negative is going to stay. Sure. Right. And so if that just is left unanswered, then people don't know what the restaurant's response or thoughts are on it. But a very quick, positive, thoughtful response goes, like I said, goes a long way.
And most people just want to be heard, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think positive and thoughtful is the note that we will end on. So thank you so much, Mike, Dr. Kathy, Leah. Thank you so much. Yes, what a great conversation, and hopefully you have some takeaways. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us for Inside the Chamber. We hope you found the information in today's program valuable. Please join us again for our monthly programs. In the meantime, remember, when you're looking to shop or dine, think Chamber and visit naperville.net to support the Chamber of Commerce and the business community.